Hello. Anyone around here speak basketball?
Taking Bobby Webster.
This is Adam Silver.
Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks. Let's go first to you, Mac. Just plainly, how concerned should we be about Fred's struggles, Fred VanVleet?
If I were to put it like on a scale to like from 1 to 10, I would say like a 7.5. Now, this isn't the first time we've had this conversation about Fred's shooting slumps. And in the past, he's been able to work his way in small doses from those struggles. But I've been living with it mainly because Fred has this ability to make timely shots, and of course, he brings the defense on the court, so it's easy to kind of put the shooting aside for a bit. However, being such a small guard, it's extremely important for his efficiency to go up because his points don't come in the paint area. It makes it very predictable as a guard to guard the rest of our team. And our half-court sets have been ugly. Now, I think there's been 6 games this season. He's shot under 30% from the field. And that's like a third of the games he's played. I think he played 18 games. So it's alarming, but I'm hoping that OG and Pascal's growth can hopefully mask his struggles throughout the season while he figures himself out.
I think, I'm usually not, kind of panicky person. I feel like, I mentioned to both of you before the pod started that the Raptors were, I think, 11 and 13 around the 24 game mark. Last year we're 500 after just losing to Boston. Fred has struggled. I was looking at his game score, which is something I, enjoy checking out. Via Basketball Reference. It's a good sort of look at like the overall effect someone has on the game. So, Fred's had a bunch of games that are in the 20s, which is incredible this year. But since he has come back from having the flu, he had a really solid kind of contribution game against Dallas. And after that, he's had really low game scores. And, that kind of tells me that he's not affecting the game like we expect him to, right? He was an all-star last year. And, there's a lot of different things going on with this season and with Fred. It's kind of, we're both training Scotty to do a lot of stuff. So, Fred's having to dip into this Kyle Lowry territory where he's picking points to be assertive and then also letting other people flourish. And, to your point, he is a small guard and he has to be shooting well to really kind of, I think, outweigh the negatives. My concern level isn't as high just because I really do believe in Fred, finding different ways to contribute. However, I think, the last 3 seasons, he, was 36 minutes a game. Last year was 37 minutes a game. This year he's 36 minutes a game again. And I don't know. I think that Fred, we need to find a way to trust other people and to give him a break, not just like letting him play so much and burn out and then kind of giving Malachi or Delano the start. And then, when he comes back, it's like another 40-minute game. Like we have to find a way to bring his sort of marathon contribution down a little bit. Because more than being worried about Fred, personally, I'm seeing burnout. I think that's what I'm seeing the most. Cathryn, where are you at with your concern level for Fred?
Well, first of all, Freddie, are you going to give us a number? The whole time I was like, give us a number out of 10.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean,
You don't have to, but I was
no.
waiting for it,
Yeah. That's fair because Matt gave us a number. I said concern level, which I guess could be like high, medium. I would say out of 10, I put it at like a 4, only because I think,
Okay.
yeah, like, part of what I've seen from Fred, just weighing it all, I still have like the Golden State finals Fred in my head, the Milwaukee Fred, the All-Star Fred, the 50 5 points in a game Fred. Like, I've seen him do so much that I have to assume that even if his body's a bit broken down and he's a little bit sick and there's all these different things going on, I have to assume that he'll be better than what we're seeing right now. And yeah, I guess it hasn't been a long enough stretch for me to be really worried. Although I don't think we should err on the side of like nothing's wrong, if that makes sense.
Sure. That makes sense. I mean, for me, I think I'm relatively concerned. I'll probably mark it around a 6. I mean, I
Nice.
think, I think the thing for him, when I look at some of his games where he has scored over 20 points, the shooting percentage isn't that great. Like when he had 26 against the Mavericks, he was 7 for 18. And when he had 23 against the Heat, he was 7 for 21. So I think it's really more like you want to see that shooting percentage be higher. I think right now he's sitting around 27%. And I think teams aren't afraid when he does shoot. And I think that's the biggest concern for us, is that teams are letting him shoot, because even though, even if he gets 23 points in a game, they know he's missing enough that they're kind of fine with it. So that to me is the bigger concern than how many points he actually scores per game. Really, it's the shooting percentage I want him to look at. And so, since then, yeah, like he had like 13, then only 2 against the Pelicans, then 10 against the Nets, 13, and then 8. So that's a pretty bad stretch for him. I will agree with you, Freddie, on that. I do think I think the Raptors are better when we're not relying so heavily on Fred to score. But I think he's got to do better than where he's at right now. And as everyone who has listened to me before knows, I'm a Nick Nurse stan. Nick Nurse has a book called The Pill, and he released a companion basketball that goes with it, and it's all about how to shoot. So it's like, Freddie, get in a little, Freddie Van Vliet, I mean, not Freddie Rivas, get in a little midnight read, get in a little midnight read, let it soak in. And ultimately, the only way guys get out of shooting slumps is by shooting more. So, there's not really much we can do other than let him shoot.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of where I'm at with this. I feel like he's a great shooter on his career. As recently as last year, he was in a category of like him, Steph Curry, and Buddy Hield as far as like most made threes and percentages and that sort of thing. Like I feel like Steph obviously is a category all into his own. I also feel like there's a thing with Fred where this is going to sound like a cop out, but it happens sometimes with the leaderships where he brings more value than his raw stats. He is a leader. He's and he's the one kind of translating what we're doing in the huddles. He's kind of like the coach on the floor. Even though Pascal's obviously the best player. And I think that's always important to remember with a guy like Fred. But that said, I think this Boston game is a really good example of sort of if we're expecting to get to this really high level, which I think a lot of fans think that we can. I'll say personally, I don't feel from the beginning of the season, off season, I do not think that this Raptors team is in the same category as Milwaukee or Boston, nor do I think they can get there this year. I don't think, I think our ceiling is lower than both of those teams. But I think, in regards to the rest of the East, I do feel like this team can get there. Yeah, Mac, where are you with sort of, this is a bit of an add-on question, but yeah, like the kind of like the overall, the things I'm discussing about Fred, like the kind of the intangibles, like, do you think that they matter? Am I overstating them?
They do matter definitely, but I think it would matter even more if the rest of our team was playing better. You can't have Fred have a slump and Scotty have a slump. Like we need at least two guys to help Pascal throughout these games. And I think one of the issues with Fred's efficiency is, I know you mentioned about his shooting. I think it was last year you said with Heald and Curry. Those were mostly his catch and shoot numbers that really put him up there in the elite. And I think a lot of what's going on this season is he's creating a lot off the dribble and shooting like from there. And I think him off the dribble with the big defender over him, he might have some injuries, the flu and all those things that's going on. I think that's a part of why his efficiency has been down this season. Now, his efficiency hasn't been the greatest throughout his career, but that's one thing that really stands out to me this season is that there's not a lot of catch and shoot opportunities for him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, when we run a bad set in the offense, it's often Fred, heaving those bailout shots, which I think is sort of bringing his overall efficiency down. However, I don't think that's an excuse because he is the floor general, right? We expect him to be kind of running the plays. Yeah, Cathryn, before we move on, where are you at, with the kind of like the intangibles of Fred?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like he is our leader, and he, kind of like how Kyle was with this team, right? Like he does have those intangibles, but I also agree with Mac. Like you can't have multiple guys on this team going through bad slumps and expect to win. Also, too, like don't forget we've been facing some really good teams lately. Like Pelicans are top 4 in the West right now. Brooklyn have found their stride. They're 6th in the East right now. And then obviously Boston's the best in the league. Like, I mean, I know fans don't want to hear this because, we don't like Boston, but if the playoffs started today, I would predict them to win it all. Like they're really at another level right now. So, and we were right there till the very end. So I don't think people should be hitting the panic button. I don't think people should get too freaked out. Shooting slumps happen. We should be grateful that it's happening in like late November, early December, than any other time of year. And, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll figure it out. I think we'll be okay. I think the nucleus of this team is still really strong and we'll get past this.
Okay. That's actually a really good transition point. And let's stick with you, Cathryn. So this team's 500 right now. They haven't won or lost 3 games in a row. It's been really kind of, let's lose 3 in a row. I know. Let's give it a try. You know what I mean? Enough's enough.
Yeah.
Orlando lost 9 or 10 in a row. Why can't we do that? But, what key, although let me throw in the caveat because I just feel like although it's true, it's not fun enough to talk about for the sake of a podcast. So let's throw out injuries as a thing because saying like we just need to be healthy is obviously true. And when a team's doing poorly, being like, well, we're injured is also obviously true. But I think for the sake of a podcast and kind of interesting conversation and that kind of analysis, let's dig a little bit deeper. But what do you feel like is the key to kind of gaining some momentum to this season? Not dissimilar to last year.
Well, Freddie, I don't know why you decided now to throw out injuries as something to talk about here.
Is that your main thing?
Well, it is the main thing.
It is.
I mean, when you think about it, because your question was about like lack of momentum, and it's like injuries have been a huge part of that. I think they've been the most significant part of that. Shooting slumps aside. I think injuries has been huge for this team. And so, even like obviously like Pascal was out for a few weeks. We still don't have Precious back. Otto Porter's Jr.'s not been great. And then like even with Scotty Barnes, I feel like his injury status has been a bit confusing to me because he seems to be pretty banged up, but also like totally fine to play the next game kind of when you don't even like expect him to be. And I know it's only his second year and he's a really young guy and stuff, but I think maybe his health status is a little more questionable than has been let out. Not that anyone's like hiding anything. I'm not insinuating that, but I just think he's a bit more banged up than maybe they're letting on. So, I do think it's a huge part of it. And I think, Nick Nurse is still trying to figure things out a bit, which is frustrating as fans. But we need more games like we had against Orlando, right? Where we can rest some of these starters and then see what the rest of our bench is really capable of. But you're not really going to do that against a team like Boston when you're like, this is the best team in the league and we need to see, what we're really capable of. You're not going to get minutes for Delano Banton and Malachi Flynn and guys like that, unfortunately. So, I still think we are at a place where we still need to see exactly what this team is fully capable of. I feel like at the beginning of the year, things were really singing, like things were really nice when we were all healthy. So I'm pretty confident we'll get back there before the end of this month. And, if we get into a rhythm before January, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, well said. And I feel like, in the podcast world, obviously in the Twitter world, it is very moment to moment. And, those first like 10 games, like before Pascal got injured, there was this vibe of like, we just played a bunch of really hard teams and we came out of it like 6-4 or whatever it was. And things were singing. I feel like there was a lot of good things going on. Also to your point about Barnes, obviously him, Fred, they're playing through injuries to some degree. And Barnes, like, I think the sequence I saw from the Boston game where I was the most like, what is going on? It felt very, watching a lot of the World Cup, it felt very, reminiscent of something in soccer where a player is hurt and then then they get the ball back and it's like, they're going for it. And he was guarding Tatum and Tatum did this like spin and Scotty pulled up like, oh my God, I really just hurt my knee. And was like started almost limping, but then there was an immediate turnover and he turned and like tried to demand the ball from Pascal, I think it was, and didn't get it. But then there was still like a kind of like a semi-fast break. And then he was like off to the races. So yeah, whatever's going on with Scotty, it's hard to tell. It was sort of like, it seemed like you were legitimately hurt there, but also it seems like you're totally fine. It's hard to kind of figure out what the deal is with Scotty's health, to be honest. And I think that's played a part in his, the whether or not he's aggressive. I felt like he was really aggressive against Boston, but yeah, where are you at, Mac, as far as this team finding a rhythm? And I did throw y'all a curveball, so if it's also injury, that is okay.
Oh no, it's not injury, but yeah, on the Scotty part, like I feel like every game he's grimacing.
Yeah,
with his knee or his ankle. I think they need to sit.
He's got that tape now too.
Yeah, on his knee, and I think he just needs to sit for like 2-3 weeks, even if it's something to like mentally decompress. I just think he needs that. I don't know what's going on, like you said.
I agree,
but yeah, that's that. And with as far as the momentum, I think our roster is like at least the top half of our roster is a collection of players that are like primarily known as 3-and-D players. We don't have those game changers, or you can say closers that can will us to victory like Boston does, right? They had Jason Tatum and he willed them to victory last night.
Mm-hmm.
So if our 3-point shot is off or we're not bringing it on the defensive end, the game will get ugly very fast and it will trigger our notorious fake comebacks. So with that said, the energy,
it's a thing. It's a thing.
The fake comebacks, right? And with that said, the energy and the hustle needs to be our calling card on a nightly basis. Like if we were to compare this to boxing, the Raptors can't go 8 rounds getting punched in the face and expect to come back the next 4 rounds and win. They need to just be banking on punching first and punching often. Because I think it's essential for the way this team is built to be the aggressor, and whether that means like getting quicker substitutions to prevent wearing our players down, or maybe combine getting deeper bench looks.
Mm-hmm.
We just can't relax. We need to bring that energy at all times. So in short, I believe urgency, calculated aggression, better communication are the elements to us getting our momentum back.
Yeah, lots of good points there, and I think you hit on my take at the end, and this isn't the first time I've said this. Many people have said this as well, but it's deeper bench looks. I think if you're Nurse and you're like, hey, Banton, Malachi, they can't cut it. They just can't cut it. They don't belong. That's one thing. But I think sort of doing this thing where we're playing our players so heavily where they need a full game rest. And it's like, okay, Malachi, you're starting tonight.
Yeah.
There has to be some middle ground there where it's like, Malachi, we need you to bring it for 5 minutes a half every game. And if you don't bring it for 5 minutes a half every game, well, then you're going to lose out to Banton. Thaddeus, you get to play 5 minutes a half every game. Maybe not Birch, right? Maybe some players are pretty situational, but even a guy like Koloko, right? There's been games where he is starting and playing a bunch, and then there's games where he doesn't play at all. And I think on one hand, it's like, yeah, okay, great. Don't underestimate Nurse's kind of like, whatever, like quantum brain here. And maybe he's using the first part of the season to figure some things out. But when I look at Fred and when I look at Scotty and I see this wear and tear, and I totally agree with you, I do think that I'd like to see a refreshed Scotty. Mentally recharging is also a part of it, right? Kind of studying the game. I'm someone who's been against bringing Gary to the bench, but I'm seeing some value in that. I'm seeing, I think it will take some time to figure that rhythm out. But if Gary's still getting, a significant amount of minutes every game, he does have that opportunity to kind of study the game when he's not starting and come in and make shots and, have his imprint on the game. So I feel like there needs to be some kind of like substitution pattern consistency, some deeper bench stuff, just to kind of mitigate some of the wear and tear on this roster. I feel like that would really go a long way.
Especially this early on in the year. Might as
Right?
well, right? See what you got. December 15th is like where those players that signed free agency in the offseason, they can get traded, right? So figure out what you got until like mid-December and then shake up the roster if need be. Now you don't really know what you have. You don't know what lineups work because you're always being so strict with your substitutions, giving the end of bench guys short leashes.
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of puts, Nurse is the mad scientist, but it kind of puts him in this category where he's like the mad scientist with player injuries, as opposed to having more of a full roster and kind of like moving the chess pieces around in that respect. This is the end of the pod. Thank you both so much for joining. Love having you both on. Appreciate you both. I'll bring Maddie D in here. But before we kind of go to our plugs at the end here, let me go to you first, Cathryn. What's up? What's going down? What do you want to plug?
Yeah, I have my show here on Raptors Republic called the Buckets and Tea NBA Show. We typically release episodes every Friday. I have a guest each week, and we talk about the NBA and the Raptors, and then our Nick Nurse Hottie highlight of the week. If you haven't seen it on Raptors Republic yet, we made a Nick Nurse calendar. It's called the Happy and Angry at Refs 2023 calendar.
Yes, get your calendar.
The amazing Dana at Great Dane illustrated these amazing pictures for us. Every month is a picture of him smiling and happy, and another picture of him yelling and being angry at a ref. It's really capturing his whole essence. And check that out on Raptors Republic as well.
Amazing. Definitely check it out. It's an amazing podcast, and we are the young guns. So listen, if you love Amir, you simply must support Buckets and Tea.
Yeah. Well, and I've got an OG. Lewis is going to be my guest this week, Lewis Satzman. So
amazing. Mac, what's up? What do you want to plug?
I just have Running Off the Screen on Raptors Republic. I'm trying to be weekly, but my life is so busy. So it's been bi-weekly and like scattered here and there. I'm going to try and be more consistent. But yeah, I provide analysis. I'm going to have some guests, and I want to get you guys on for an episode in the coming weeks if you guys are available at any time. And yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah.
I'm down. And as a podcaster, I hear you. It's hard to be consistent. Maddie D, my special producer. What's up? What do you want to let people know? Hit him with the good stuff about this pod. Nope.
Sorry, I was on mute there.
He's so selfless. He muted himself. Wow. Huge.
I do, because when you guys are talking, usually I'm just screaming and going crazy in the background.
Are you really?
No. I just, in case something happens, I don't want to disturb you guys. It's a professional thing. I think you guys said everything we need to say about Raptors Republic. Like, go to the Rapcast. Subscribe there if you want to listen to Cathryn's podcast, Mac's podcast, the wrap up. We got all kinds of content. I think the Rapcast is like number 3 in iTunes right now for basketball in Canada. So that's pretty cool. And as well, remember there's the paywall that is up for the editorial content. These guys work really hard, pay $6 a month and get that great content. That would be great. Very much appreciated. And I think that's pretty much it. We'll see you next week, and keep your chin up. Oh, he's got the toque on. Yes. Oh,
Amazing.
Now we have to explain it.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Maddie D. My partner went to a gift exchange with him, and because Maddie D is the greatest person in the world, his gift was a toque that has a built-in light. And it also has built-in headphones. The light has a couple different settings. I think if you wear this long enough, probably it will combust in flames and you light your head on fire. But Maddie D is the greatest person in the world. I really wanted to shut the lights off for this. But this is the best I could do. I couldn't wear this the whole pod. I think my head would melt.
But it looks like you got some kind of Iron Man thing going on.
It looks like part of my head is open. I'm
trying to figure out what need this fulfills. Like,
no,
you know what? For the Portland Trailblazers, for whoever's hiking in the dark there, waiting for the team to win, they could really use that.
No, this comes from someone who snow blows during a blizzard. This comes from someone who deals with the snow a lot. Someone like Maddie D, who needs to be prepared to listen to music and have light for when it's dark out, but also wants that all built into a toque. Nobody asked for this, but Maddie D, you're the greatest. So, thank you very much. Again, shout out to everyone who's been listening and following and supporting. We appreciate you. And of course, support Raptors Republic. This podcast is going to air on the 7th, but if you're going to the Jack Armstrong concert, you will see me. I'm going tonight. Or you have seen me, but I have no idea what's going to happen there, but I'm very excited. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Maddie D. If you feel like we're done and we're good to go and you like this toque, please just give me those words I love so much. Okay.
Listen to full episodes of the Confederacy of Dunks only on the Rapcast.